Hi everyone, my name is Irene Polnyi and I'm the VP of Programs for Carbon to Sea Initiative. And last year the high-level Panel for Sustainable Ocean Economy, or the Ocean Panel, commissioned a blue paper on responsible marine CDR development and governance. Among other things, this paper highlighted that OAE lacked in-field demonstrations to support the scientific evidence, and it also suggested that test beds for marine CDR were severely underfunded. This is a key priority for the Carbon to Sea Initiative, so I'm really pleased to introduce this next session, which will feature the leading scientists and researchers from field science to share what they've studied, what they've learned, and what will come next. In this first section, we'll hear from the leaders who are representing deep benches of experts from their teams, represented by, oopsie daisy, Adam Subas from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, Mallory Ringham from Ebb Carbon, Will Burt from Planetary, and Doug Edwards from Vesta. Then we will turn to innovations that improve the outcomes, accountability, and transparency across projects. So we'll be hearing from Audrea Denon from Ross Marine Research Center, Sarah Schumann from Fishery Friendly Climate Action, and Jackie Long from Submarine Scientific. And hopefully we'll have a few minutes for questions at the end. But to set the stage, I'll first start with a quick look at how far the field has come. At Carbon to Sea, we track field research to understand what are the opportunities, the blockers, and how else we can support work around the world. Today, teams are working across scales, from the micro studies of less than a ton, represented by this tiny little red dot, which is where most projects begin, all the way up to projects that are being planned in the 10,000s of tons. And for those of you who were able to tour Planetary's site yesterday, you now have a sense for what a site of that scale looks and feels like. I would also add that there's no fixed timeline to progress against these scales, and we emphasize that thoughtful, responsible scale-up is critical, and I would point you to the environmental impact monitoring framework that Sam introduced that has more details about these stage gates and decisions. So a big thank you to the 22 teams that participated in the survey, and I'll preface it by saying that it's not totally exhaustive, and some of the projects are anonymized. But so far, this is the clearest picture that we have of field research. I'll move pretty quickly through this to highlight the pace of the field science. So in 2022, Vesta ran the first small-scale field study and then progressed towards a larger project. In 2023, Planetary and Dalhousie began their work here in Halifax. By 2024, we saw 4 new entrants: Ebb, Vicarb, University of Tasmania, and URI. So in this scale, we're really interested in the scale of the research, but also the number of entrants who are actively producing outcomes. And in 2025, we saw a big step change because some of the smaller projects had scaled up. Planetary and Carbon Run issued their first ever certified credits from their fieldwork, and Woods Hole Oceanographic led the first open ocean field trial, which you will hear about in a moment. We also saw the entrance of Planeteers. This year, we're at 16 active or planned studies with new entrants including Ross Marine Research Center, BlueSync, Aquatic, Fathom, Capture6, and LimeNet. And looking ahead, projects are planning to exceed 10,000 tons for the first time, with new geographies and teams like Kanjani and Seekier in the UK, alongside continued scale-up from Planetary, Aquatic, and Carbon Run. As you can see, the momentum has really been growing over time with new and important research questions that are unlocked with increasing scales. And if you're on this slide, would you mind just giving kind of a big wave? Yay! Thank you guys so much for participating in the survey. And if you see some of these folks, please find them and ask how you can help. Oops, I forgot about that one. Okay, OAE is highly place-based. So in this case, it's really important to understand how OAE performs in different physical, biogeochemical, and biological environments. So it really matters where this work is taking place. So far, most completed trials have been in North America, Norway, and Australia. But we're now seeing planned studies expand into Europe, Africa, and Asia, helping to provide a more complete global picture. What are these field studies looking to learn? Mostly environmental impacts and MRV questions dominate their research agenda, with nearly every trial prioritizing these types of questions. But it's also good to see that there's a breadth of questions that are being asked and answered, no matter who is conducting the work. Of the 43 studies in this data set, you can see that more than half involve the private sector. In a field with limited demonstration opportunities and real funding constraints, these partnerships are really important to advance the science that builds credibility with policymakers, communities, and investors. So if you're working in the private sector, we encourage you to share as much information as possible with the scientific community so that we can advance this understanding together. Thank you so much for this time, for this brief interview, and please welcome me in joining Adam Subas to the stage.